focus on the water source, and I've just just mentioned that this is one of the sources, but the main important factor is the groundwater, which has been used for drinking and cooking purposes.
So you recommend don't using this water?
Of course, because we do have government provided water supplies which are not being used by the people, so that is why the education program has been focused. So groundwater is something which you get out of the ground, pumped inside in the home. So when you have a good source of water which is provided by the government outside your home or in the next street, they're very lazy to go and get the water. So it is because of lack of knowledge. So by education program, it is possible to change the attitude of people.
Okay, so there is alternative there.
Yeah, there is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question is can you show the slide about your pre-test, post-test and education?
Mm-hmm.
Why, no, the other one. Timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Why the post-test takes so long?
Yeah, because it is 30 districts. So 30 districts, when you consider 30 districts, it is very huge. And 15 is intervention and 15 is the control group. So for the pre-test, I had 18 months. And for the post-test, it is 16 months because during the pre-test, you have to obtain assent from the children, which will take quite longer time. And if in case if they don't want to participate, then you have to skip and move on to the next school or the next children. So it's going to take a longer time during the pre-test compared to the post-test. Did I answer your question? The whole pink part denotes the pre-test.
But educational program itself is shorter. Is it easier to do?
It's in the intervention group alone in 15 districts. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. This was a very educational topic for me. I didn't know about skeletal fluorosis.
Fluorosis.
My question is, again, content-wise, I'm just curious. So what happens with pregnant women who are drinking this groundwater, and what happens to their fetuses, and also what happens to their breast milk if they're ingesting the groundwater rather than the government supplies? And how does that increase the risk for these children in this teenage years? My question really is this a late stage to get the children, and how do you justify that stage?
Yes, exactly, because the dental fluorosis, when you consider seeing all those streaks and all those marks, they have been affected by dental fluorosis. But skeletal fluorosis takes a longer time, like 10 to 15 years, and depending on the consumption. So if you're going to block the child from consuming, like after he or she develops dental fluorosis, you can stop skeletal fluorosis from developing. And about the fetus, I want to add that yes, it does affect the fetus as well, because consumption during pregnancy will affect the fetus also. It is one of the risk factors as well for developing fluorosis.
So in fact, the educational program should be population-wide about this issue.
Yeah.
And not necessarily focused on the teenage years.
Yeah, the children were selected because, as you know, above 25 or 30 years, the patient will have dental fluorosis, and it is almost time when they can develop skeletal fluorosis as well, because they're old enough. But considering these children from 10 to 16 years, it is only the stage of development of dental fluorosis, because it takes at least 10 years after that to develop skeletal fluorosis. So which means that this particular population was selected so that you can stop them before developing skeletal fluorosis.
So the trigger or the screen will be the dental fluorosis, and
exactly.
that those who don't develop dental fluorosis will not develop skeletal fluorosis. Is that it? Okay. Thank you for the education. It's very interesting.
Other questions or comments?
Where there was written about the prevalence of skeletal or dental fluorosis, that the highest was among 12-year-old children, right? It was dental fluorosis?
In the US, you mean?
US.
It was the dental fluorosis. Yes, 23%. Did you mean?
There's a chart. Yeah, this one.
It's dental fluorosis. I've mentioned it.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think this is due to water fluoridation? Do you have any clue why in the US?
Yeah, it is because of artificial fluoridation of water.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, this I know just a little bit more about. I didn't know anything about the skeletal one, but they're thinking that because districts are it's the layering effect that you also mentioned. So it's the water combined with the toothpaste and so on and so forth. But what has happened is that there are products that are sold. This is now in debate. I think they're taking them off market. But so fluoridation is a state issue in the United States, and it can even be local issue within the states. So we don't have uniformity on the dosing and the fluoridization, artificial fluoridization of public waters. So because, like, for example, I live in the state of New Jersey, there is no fluoride provided in the state. There are a lot of products that are sold specifically targeted to moms of young children to buy waters with fluoride and pills with fluoride and candies with fluoride. It's not candy, but something like that. So they're thinking that there's a layering effect, of an unintended effect of basically fluoride fortification.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Janani. And we are moving to our concluding for today presentation by Vahe Kermoyan.
Thank you very much. But before keeping time track, please, Zara, I want to say that one of my advisors is here from the US. It's a great surprise, and with what I'm very happy.
Just for you.
Okay. So my research project is about osteoporosis, knowledge, beliefs, and practice among the general population in Yerevan and Gyumri. This is a cross-sectional survey and research grant proposal framework. For the outline, we'll see the literature review, what's going on in Armenia. We'll see the research question, methods, budget, and we'll have a short question and answer session. So what's osteoporosis? Osteoporosis is a systematic skeletal disease leading to decreased strength and fragility of bones. It is described by low bone mass, microarchitectural deterioration of bone tissue, leading to high risks of fracture. In the picture, as you can see, the healthy bone and the osteoporotic bone, which is more porous and it's less dense. In the US, in 2010, 54% of the population aged 15 and over had osteoporosis, and 10.1% suffered from osteoporosis, while from 1.2% to 2% had osteoporotic-related fractures. In the same year, for the same population, in the European Union, 5.5% of the population was affected, out of which 6.6% were men and 22.1% were women. And usually men experience 20 to 25% of osteoporotic-related fractures compared to women. It's a disease which consumes high expenditures from the health care. So medical costs associated with osteoporosis was $14 to $20 billion in the US in 2010. And in this chart, we can see the 5 EU countries, which are Italy, Germany, France, Spain, and UK. That fragility fractures associated with osteoporosis consume significantly more. They have more societal burden compared to, for example, rheumatoid arthritis, and they consume roughly 30 billion euros annually. So there are two groups of risk factors for the development of osteoporosis. This includes non-modifiable risk factors, which are age, reproductive history, and fracture history. When talking about age, we talk about the older population who are aged 65 and more. They are more prone to osteoporosis and osteoporotic-related fractures. Reproductive history includes age at menarche, duration of lactation, number of pregnancies, and as well as age at menopause. For example, women who have early onset of menopause, they are 3 times higher risk for developing osteoporosis. Fracture history includes personal fracture, which includes those who experience fracture after the age of 50. They are more prone to osteoporosis, as well as family history. It is about your parents, either father or mother, or relatives in general. Modifiable risk factors include smoking, excess alcohol intake, caffeine intake, low BMI, low physical activity, low calcium intake, low vitamin D levels. All of them mentioned are important, but I want to particularly mention a few of them. Smoking, history of smoking, and current smoking is a risk factor for the development of osteoporosis. Caffeine intake is not limited to the coffee only. It refers to the caffeinated beverages, such as colas, for example. Low physical activity is particularly important for children because they need higher physical activity to achieve their peak bone mass and to maintain their bone health in the future. Low calcium intake particularly is probably one of the most important risk factors because the calcium is the nutrient which maintains the healthy bones and serves as a foundation for it. And low vitamin D levels is important because it serves as a nutrient for the absorption and the retention of calcium and maintaining healthy bones. So osteoporosis is a preventable disease. There are a few universal recommendations which can be recommended to the general population to maintain healthy bones and to avoid development of osteoporosis and the subsequent fractures. It includes adequate calcium and vitamin D intake, smoking cessation, identification of treatment and alcoholism. Lifelong weight-bearing exercises are recommended to all groups of the population. And as well for the osteoporosis-related fractures, it's recommended to make the fall prevention. All women aged 50 and more and men aged 70 and more should undergo the clinical risk assessment in order to see what's their risk in the development of osteoporosis. As well as women aged 65 and more and men 70 years and older should undergo the bone mineral density, should be tested for bone mineral density. It's a screening procedure to prevent the future development of osteoporosis. And there is an online tool available, a fracture risk assessment tool, which is called FRAX. It's available, it's validated by the WHO, and it's implemented in many countries. So this tool calculates person's 10-year probability of developing an osteoporosis-related fracture. In order to diagnose the osteoporosis, T-score system is used. T-score is basically the standard deviation from the mean population mean age bone mineral density. So then when the T-score lies in any body side from 0 to -1, it indicates the more normal bone tissue. When it lies from -1 to 2.5, it's indicated as low bone mass or osteopenia. And the osteopenia